Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into one of the most absolutely profound shifts in modern science. For centuries, chemistry was really just a discipline of intense manual labor, test tubes, and honestly, a whole lot of trial and error. Scientists would spend literally years slowly tweaking compounds in the lab. But today, we're replacing that slow manual grind with high-speed artificial intelligence. We're talking about deep learning stepping in as the ultimate molecular architect, analyzing and creating complex chemical systems at a speed and scale that is completely transforming scientific discovery. Okay, let's dive into this. What actually happens when an artificial intelligence starts designing medicines or even completely new materials that the human mind hasn't even conceived of yet? We're not just talking about a really fast calculator speeding up lab math. We're talking about a system that discovers hidden relationships in chemical data entirely on its own. But to understand how we got here, we really need to quickly look at the foundation of it all. Section 1, Meet the Molecular Architect, the basics of deep learning. So, deep learning is a highly specialized branch of machine learning. It uses these multi-layered artificial neural networks that are actually inspired by the biological neurons in your own brain. Now, traditional machine learning in chemistry used to require a ton of manual feature engineering. A human scientist literally had to sit down and select all the molecular descriptors for the computer. But deep learning? It's brilliant because it automatically learns useful hierarchical representations directly from raw chemical data. You just feed it the data, and it figures out the rules all by itself using its hidden computational layers. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how that learning happens. It's a process called training. First, we input the data, like maybe a molecule's weight or its surface area. Second, the network generates a prediction. Maybe it's guessing its toxicity. Third, it calculates the error, meaning it figures out exactly how far off its guess was from reality. Fourth, it uses this critical algorithm called backpropagation, alongside gradient descent, to adjust the mathematical weights inside the network. And finally, the prediction improves. This cycle doesn't just happen once, though. It repeats thousands or even millions of times until the network becomes incredibly accurate. So the AI can learn, but how does it actually see and read the chemistry? Section 2, the Neural Network Toolkit. CNNs, transformers, and GNNs. Let's start with CNNs, or convolutional neural networks. Originally, these were developed for computer vision stuff like facial recognition. But scientists realized, wait, you can treat chemistry exactly like a visual art. CNNs can instantly look at molecular images, crystal structures, or highly complex spectral data like IR and NMR spectra. They identify the visual patterns in these graphs and images significantly faster and with vastly improved accuracy compared to a human analyst. It drastically reduces human effort. But let's see how this builds into an entirely different way to process chemistry. Instead of treating chemistry as a picture, what if we treat it as a language? You can actually write chemical structures as sequences of text, like the SMILES notation, where ethanol is simply represented as C-C-O. Recurrent neural networks and these highly advanced models called transformers process this exact sequence. By using what's called an attention mechanism, these networks learn the chemical grammar of molecules. They figure out which parts of a sequence are the most important. Honestly, just like how AI translates English into French. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it represents one of the absolute most powerful technologies in chemical AI, graph neural networks, or GNNs. Molecules aren't just pictures or text, right? In physical reality, they naturally form graphs. GNNs map this perfectly. They treat every single atom as a node and every chemical bond as an edge connecting them. By preserving the actual physical connectivity and the atomic interactions of the molecule, GNNs achieve mind-blowing prediction accuracy for things like predicting how toxic a compound is or how well it'll perform as a drug. Up until now, we've talked about AI analyzing molecules that already exist, but the true paradigm shift is coming up next. Section 3, Dreaming Up New Molecules. Welcome to the era of generative AI. Instead of just evaluating existing compounds, AI can now create entirely new ones totally from scratch. Look at how a generative adversarial network, or GAN, pulls this off. It's essentially two neural networks competing against each other in a high-stakes game. On the left, you have the generator. It acts like a molecular counterfeiter, hallucinating totally novel molecular structures out of thin air. On the right, the discriminator evaluates them, trying to catch the fakes. Through this fierce, continuous competition, the generator gets so good that it starts hallucinating perfect, completely viable drug candidates that no human has ever drawn before. And GANs are really just one tool in the toolbox. We also have variational autoencoders, or VAEs, which compress chemical knowledge to optimize molecules. And then there are diffusion models. You've probably seen these used in those viral AI art generators online, right? Well, in chemistry, a diffusion model takes pure, random mathematical noise and gradually sculpts it step by step into a highly effective, stable, and diverse molecular design, maybe a never-before-seen catalyst. All of these architectures are mathematically beautiful, but why does it actually matter? Let's ground this in reality. Section 4. Real-world chemical impact. Accelerating discovery. So, the crucial point is how AI drastically accelerates the incredibly slow drug discovery pipeline. Traditionally, finding a biological target, discovering an active compound, optimizing it, and testing it, well, it takes a decade and billions of dollars. With deep learning, AI can identify the target, generate the hit, and instantly perform ADMET prediction. ADMET stands for absorption, distribution, metabolism, excretion, and toxicity. The AI literally skips years of manual lab labor by accurately predicting exactly how a drug will act in the human body before a single physical test tube is even touched. It's a real game changer. And it goes way beyond just biology. Deep learning is simultaneously hunting for the physical materials that will power our sustainable future. Researchers are actively using AI to screen and design high-efficiency battery materials for electric vehicles, next-generation solar cells, and advanced nanomaterials. It reduces experimental efforts so dramatically that we are, for sure, seeing a golden age of rapid material innovation, which brings us to the climax of this technology, the truly awe-inspiring frontier. Section 5. The Lab of Tomorrow. Fully autonomous scientific discovery. What happens when you combine the deep learning AI we've been discussing with physical laboratory robotics? You get a fully autonomous laboratory. Walk through this cycle with me, it's wild. A robot physically performs an experiment. Sensors collect the data. The AI trains its model on that data. It generates predictions. And then, and this is the crazy part, the AI actually proposes the next most logical experiment to run and tells the robot to do it. It's a continuous, self-improving research cycle where the AI is simultaneously the data analyst and the lead scientist. Now, to be perfectly impartial, this technology is definitely not without its hurdles. Deep networks require massive amounts of high-quality data to learn. I mean, if you feed them garbage, you get garbage out. They also require incredibly expensive hardware, like massive clusters of GPUs. But perhaps the biggest challenge of all is interpretability. Many of these neural networks act as a black box. They give us these brilliant answers, but they don't actually tell us how they arrived at them. That's exactly why the field desperately needs explainable AI, or XAI. Scientists need to be able to trust the models by understanding exactly which molecular features drove the AI's decision. Which really leaves us with a truly profound question. As we move toward a future of fully autonomous laboratories, self-optimizing chemical plants, and medicines hallucinated entirely by AI, what exactly will be the role of the human scientist? Will we become mere overseers of these robotic intellects, or will this partnership unlock levels of human creativity we can't even imagine yet? It is such an incredibly exciting time to be following science. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.